Hey everybody, this is Willie Sublett III, founder of RightTouch Solutions, and welcome back to the Right Touch Rundown. Last week we opened with just a simple question. What is going on inside the person at your board table who hasn't said much words yet? This week, I want to talk to a specific group of people. Whether you're a board president, a chair, or a meeting facilitator, heck, someone who runs the room during meetings, this episode was especially created, handcrafted for you. Here is what I want you to understand from the very start of this conversation. The culture of the room is yours to set, and the voices that go unheard in that room are also on you. So, before you start moving your mouse to click that red X in the corner, talk about for to come for you, I'm not. Know that it's said with love from a current and previous president that fully believes that us presidents, we don't do it on purpose. There is good intentions behind it. But those good intentions don't always create that environment we think we're creating. Today, we're going to talk about it. So sit back down, put your mouse down, don't close the video. There is a tendency in board leadership, especially in nonprofit boards, that time is tight. Volunteers are busy. So we feel like we have to treat each meeting like a logistical event. Get through the agenda, hit the action items, adjourn on time, do Robert's rules right. Yes, those things matter. But structure always will matter. I've said that since episode 1. That's even the tagline. Things move best with structure. I love structure. But we must understand that a meeting is just not about logistics. It's about the culture as well. Every single time your board gathers, you are entering a room that's built for people to feel like their voices belong. Or, if you don't pay attention to it, you are slowly, sometimes unintentionally, confirming to those members who don't believe that they are right. It does not belong to people who are not boisterous. The president sets the tone each and every time. It's fine. It's the weight of the seat. So, I have and currently sit in the president's seat of an organization. And I'll be honest with you, there have been many times early in my career of board service where I thought a quiet member meant a content member. I thought I was really reaching the room, doing it to them. You hear me? The people were quiet because I was hitting all the markers, killing the game. If the room had no conversation points, that must have really meant I showed up and showed them that I'm prepared and showing my worth as a president. They elected the right one today. It took me a long while to realize those are two different things. And I'm up here just thinking wrong. What really changed for me is when I started stepping back from facilitating and having other people facilitate and noticing the room, paying attention to who's in there, and not just to who is speaking, but also who's not speaking. Why is Clarissa not saying nothing? So it's not always obvious when someone is quietly calculating your table. That is exactly why it gets missed. It might look like a member who always says, "Oh, and I agree with what you just said," but never offers their own thoughts first. It might be a person who is always sending you thoughtful texts or emails after the meeting, and it's the exact insights that you needed during the meeting. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? It might also look like that member who appears fully present, like we talked about last week. They're doing your nods, they're engaged, they're taking notes. But when you go around the room, I have nothing to add. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I agree. I'm good. None of that, as we talked about, is disengagement. They are just signs that someone hasn't felt a psychological safety net or felt invited enough to bring their full thinking into the room. They're still playing double dutch and don't want to get hurt by the rope. That's where you get to that hard truth of they've tried before. They may have gotten overtalked. A comment landed wrong. Um, they said something and somebody else said it and nobody listened to them because the room was moving too fast, right? So they learned a lot from that, saying, you know what? I'll just talk to them after the meeting, or I'll send an email because my voice is not loud enough. I'm not boisterous enough. I'm not saying the right things in the meetings, but I know I have a value. Let's take a quick moment to pause. None of this, and I'm going to get closer because I want you to hear me. Let me get close. Hold on. None of this is about bad leadership. You're not bad leaders. You're not bad presidents. You're not bad facilitators. We are simply pointing out potential blind spots that every president, even the strongest, seem to carry. Okay? All right. Get back in my chair because that's uncomfortable. Now, Willie, what are some blind spots and some examples you can give us? Oh, I have a few. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Some of the ways that I've seen this show up in board meetings by presidents, including myself, include rewarding the loudest voice. When the same 2 or 3 people drive every conversation, the meeting appears to be moving efficiently. We're getting through things. But that efficiency had some cost on it, my friends. That quiet member over there, they're watching. Who gets the airtime? What personality gets you heard? And they're drawing those conclusions. They're connecting the dots about whether they'll be able to connect with them, right? If we're only letting Tim and Sally do a whole bunch of talking and we're going to move forward because they're saying things and we don't realize that they didn't stop long enough to take a breath, that the whole room hasn't spoken, the rest of the room realizes, well, if we ain't that loud, they're not going to pay no attention. We're going to move forward anyway. So I'm not going to pay attention myself. I'm going to be on my phone. Or I'm going to send an email again afterwards. Maybe you're moving too fast in your meetings. Yes, a well-run agenda is wonderful, but let's be honest, that's a rare gift. Most agendas you don't get to talk about everything. If you do talk about everything, you don't leave any breathing room for people to digest what you just said. You introduced the topic, you talked about it for a little bit. We had our loud talkers go, now we're moving on to something else. Sometimes you got to chew your food up. Give me a moment to chew. You're running a meeting that readily rewards rapid, quick responses, quick swallowing, quick thinking. Not everybody thinks that way. Some people take things in deep and then wants to regurgitate a wonderful solution or a wonderful idea or some type of innovation. But we missed all of that because we want to get to it. We want to get to it before we can adjourn on time. Sometimes we're asking the wrong questions. We all know I love a good question, a good, strong question, especially my students, because they got homework on that every time I do a cohort learning. We're going to talk about strong questions. You throw out these questions, especially these raggedy questions, when there's lulls in conversations or it's just dead space when you're on Zoom. I do it. I've done it. I've done it. I've done it. It's not just you. You ask the silly question like, does anyone have anything to add? Just trying to get conversation moving. That is one of the least effective questions within board service because it puts the entire burden on members to self-select themselves into a conversation. A better approach is to utilize direct, strong questions. Marcus, I know that you've worked closely with this group in this community. What are you seeing in your normal everyday when you're volunteering that I'm not seeing or we're not seeing? How does it sit from where you are? Now, that question right there, woo-hoo, it turns that attempt for group cohesion into an invite, not an audition to participate. Now, there is good news, my friends. The good news is a lot of this is incredibly practical. I would never just leave you with a situation with no fixes. That's not how we operate over here. We're going to give you a few pathways for a strong board president to incorporate into practice. Number 1, send the agenda in advance and mean it. Now, this is still me. I'm horrible at this. Not the night before. You want to send it early enough that every member can come prepared with thoughts on each item. A few studies have shown that members who arrive having already had time to chew on that agenda and time to turn things over in their heads and minds are far more likely to be effective communicators and contributors than ones who are still processing it in real time. Now, yes, some things will pop up and we have to do that, but for the most part, get that agenda out. Make it 2 weeks, okay? At least 2 weeks ahead of time. I'm talking to myself on that one because I'm raggedy on that. Another way, we can create structured moments for every voice. Spend some time intentionally building that into the meeting itself, right? A brief round of reflections at the end, or a standing item that invites each member to bring one observation or question. Do it enough that it becomes a normal part of the culture and not a special occasion moment for everyone to speak. It'll be also known in the agenda. Oh, this is the moment where we all talk, right? It helps us with our tongues and salads to calm their mouths down because they've already had their moment. They're most likely going to go first. You want to follow up privately with those who have that appearance of quietness or that false disengagement. You know, a simple, hey, I noticed you seemed like you had something on your mind last week. I just want to hear your thoughts. Let's grab a coffee or something. That quick thing can open a door that a meeting room could never. It also tells that member that you are paying attention to more than the people who are talking, to more than the people who are extra. I make it a practice to have a quick touch base with all of my board members prior to the meeting, even if it's just 5 minutes, because it sets the tone that their opinion matters, because it does. We are just one vote in the organization. And that the organization is not just about the few minutes at the table. You're building a culture. You want to model the culture you want. When you thank someone for a strong question, not just a strong answer, you are teaching the room you value. Huh? Simple things like, how do you do this? Quick example. Here we go. Jasmine, thank you for raising that question. Everybody, let's sit for a moment before we move on, because that's a really good question. I didn't think of that. Even if you had thought of it, somebody raising a question, let them have a moment to chew. When you slow down with intention, you are telling your deep thinkers that depth of thought is welcome here. A board president carries a lot. I know that. I understand that. I live that. But you are managing the agenda. You are managing relationships. You're managing time, the mission, and the room all at once. It's not a small job. The title of the class I teach for board presidents is called The Weight of the Seat because there's a weight to it. But I want to leave you with this. The quietest person at your table may be carrying that one bit of insight that'll change the direction of your organization. But you'll never know unless you really engage them. The question is not whether they have it. The question is whether you built a room where it could finally come out. That's the work for us presidents, for us board chairs, facilitators. And you're the right person to do it. You're the best person to do it. Okay, my friends, let's get our tails on out of here because I'll be here all day. I want to thank you for being here, hanging out with me as I talk to my presidents, and those presidents who stuck around. Thank you for not clicking out of here and getting rid of me. Next week, we're going to turn the tables and speak directly to my quiet friend. So if you know someone who needs that conversation, or if that person is you, come on back next week. Feel free, excuse me, feel free to start with the previous episode if this is your first one, so you have a full picture, or just jump in wherever you want to. This is your YouTube account. I can't tell you what to do. Now, if this conversation helped you think about leading your room a little bit different, share it with another president who is still trying to figure it out, or use it as a refresher for yourself from time to time. talk about and focus on how to bring every voice to the center. Don't y'all gatekeep. And as always, mission moves best with structure. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.